Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ma Jun. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us as the newly minted president of the GBA-GFA. And we, the HKGFA, will definitely work with other alignments members all across the GBA to integrate sustainable finance in GBA and beyond. So I'm sure everybody has felt from our leaders' the opening remarks that all the work groups across the GBA has done a lot of work, and they would like to share their results with everyone. So in the next segment, we could hear from these people in charge to report on the latest progress report. So firstly, from Shenzhen, we have CHEN, Secretary of GBA-GFA and Shenzhen Green Finance, to share with us the year 2021, year 2022 GBA-GFA work report. Madam Chen, please. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Huang. So, Dr. Ma Jun, ladies and gentlemen, guests, hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be able to represent the Secretariat of the GBA-GFA to report on our annual work report. So, please, let me briefly introduce the GBA-GFAs once more. As Mr. He Jie and Mr. Dr. Ma Jun has mentioned, 3 years ago, we have set up the GBA-GFA, and we had the Guangdong GFA, Hong Kong GFA, and the Shenzhen GFA, and the Macau Association of Banks backing. So thanks to the industry advantages of Guangdong, the technological advantages of Shenzhen, and Hong Kong's advantages and international finance, we have resources across the board, and working alongside with hundreds of sustainable financial institutions and GBA and third-party services organizations, we jointly promote the cross-border development of GBA's green financial endeavors. So our alliance members include the Guangdong GFA, they were set up in year 2017 in Guangdong. Their secretariat is set up in Guangzhou. Our general managing director is Meng Meng. He has over 69 members. And we also have, as we all know, the Hong Kong Green Finance Association, the HKGFA, now has 160 plus members under its wing. And Dr. Ma Jun has already introduced their work at the GBA-GFA in detail. And here, I'd like to pay the greatest respects to the HKGFA and Dr. Ma Jun. I'd like to thank their excellent contribution to the green finance, and they are exemplary. So the Macau Association of Banks is set up in 1985. Their current leader is the Bank of China Macau branch, and they have over 330 members, and they have achieved many record thirds in blue bonds and green bonds. They are very influential. The Shenzhen Economic Zone Financial Association was set up in June 2017. Responsible for working with CERX, and the secretariat is played by the CERX general manager. We have over 170 members.
And the Guangzhou Green Finance Association was set up in December 2020, and now it has 60 members covering all the different sectors in green finance. And in August of 2021, Shenzhen Green Finance Association was set up. Now it has 138 members covering all different sectors of green finance industry, as well as all the real economies. We are looking forward that in the Greater Bay Area, with this alliance mechanism being established, we can continue our efforts to attract more members and organizations from different sectors, particularly those trade associations, to be our members, so that we can work together to promote the green finance in the region. So we have a joint chairman system, and every 2 months we have a joint meeting to discuss about major development issues, working plans, as well as the implementation of our annual plan. The secretariat is in Shenzhen. We have the Green Finance Association Secretariat as a standing committee, a standing organization. We have the rotation of our chairmanship, and every founding member will be will be a chairman by rotation for 1 year. And we have working groups for different areas of work. And now you can see that we have that this is a public WeChat account. And please feel free to scan this QR code and follow our WeChat public account. In 2021 and 22, we held 4 joint meetings between our members, and this is a log of our milestones from the last annual meeting in 2021. In January, April, July, and August, we held different meetings to follow up our progress. And you can see that we also kick off the forum in February, which is called the Great Bay Area Green and Sustainable Financial Innovation and Development Forum. And I'm going to talk about more results of our progress. In July, we also have different meetings conducted by the Green Supply Chain Working Group, so on and so forth. And at the 4th the members' joint meeting, we considered and approved to set up a special committee. And 2 days ago, we kicked off the founding meeting of this committee. You can see that we set up the Smart Working Committee in China. And we have 6 working groups, just as the 2 chairmen mentioned just now, including the Green Finance Association, the cross-border cooperation working committees, and so forth. And we have a standardization mutual recognition working group. And my colleagues in a minute will share with you more information about these work groups. After the meeting today, so we're going to kick off a new meeting, a new working group, which is about our annual report. So very soon we are going to publish our annual report. As for what we're going to do next, as Mr. He Jie and Dr. Ma Jun both mentioned during the handover ceremony, that we're going to conduct some joint efforts in some areas. As a next step, our plan will help to attract more professional associations, professional organizations to join us as members. And you are most welcome to join us. Meanwhile, we are going to keep improving our working mechanism, sharing more information with the members, and enhance our implementation measures. We welcome international corporations, and we also look forward to have more opportunities to work together with the different organizations in the region so that we can share our results with more parties in the region. Thank you very much. So the time is Tony. Back to you. Thank you, Hao. Thank you for your hard work in the past year, for all the efforts and the contribution you have done to the association. So I'm going to share with you on behalf of our next work group on the common ground taxonomy. So by understanding the use cases of TGT. In this work group, the CGT group, as you may have already heard from Mr. Chen as well as Dr. Ma. So what is the significance of this work group and how to use this CGT? So here I'm going to share with you about more details. So this is a very brief introduction. For this common ground taxonomy, we took reference of the China-EU taxonomy, and we also researched our own taxonomy in order to promote the connectivity between different markets in green finance, as well as the products mutual recognition in different markets. So we have the team leaders in this work group. We have members in this work group as well. In the research process, we made 3 steps, actually 3 phases in our in our report. First of all, we look at the CGT for the Common Ground Taxonomy for Greater Bay Area, for Hong Kong. What opportunities will be brought to us? At the end of June, we already published this report. And in HKGFA, you can find this report at their website. And today I'm going to talk more about phase 2 for CGT. How should we use it? And what is the scope that it can be applied? So our working group actually spent a lot of time trying to find a wider range of applications of a CGT. And I'm also going to talk about what we're going to do next. So taking CGT as a basis or foundation, how can we grow Hong Kong and the GBA in a further way to promote mutual recognition, as Mr. Chen mentioned in his remarks. So after several months of research, we have come to a conclusion that CGT can be applied in 3 categories. So first of all, the financial market participants, be it a bank, an issuer, a borrower, or an investor, or investment organization. So CGT can be applied in these cases. And also in terms of a disclosure, CGT can be used as a very effective tool. So be it for a business level or investor level, so it can be a tool for standardization in terms of information disclosure. In terms of policy, CGT can also play a very good role in implementing the policy. Now, let me share with you an example first by in financing and investing. For example, the Chinese bonds are issued in the overseas, and that they use the CGT in its labeling. And we can expect that in the future, there will be more and more issuers, particularly from mainland China, when they wish to issue an green bond. If they want to finance in the international market, they will most probably use the CGT. So in the China Green Bond Principle, which was published not long ago, you can see this encouraging message there. The issuers are encouraged to use a CGT when they issue bonds in the overseas market for the purpose of improve the comparability of a green finance. For the Chinese issues, be it in China or abroad, it will be helpful for them to get financed and more support to them. In the future, we hope that there will be more and more Chinese issuers begin using CGT or take reference of a CGT in the Green Bond Principle, or on the basis of a China Green Bond Principle, they will use a CGT to identify the green finance projects. In addition, it is also a very effective tool to build up the capacity building, because it's a very effective mapping tool. So particularly between China and other parts of the world. So if you take CGT as a reference, you can know very quickly that my green project, or compared with other green projects, what are the differences and what is between us? What's the difference between us? So even if it is not for the issuance of a green bond, it can be a tool for capacity building as well. For investors, in addition to white labeling of this, so in terms of an investment strategy, CGT can also play a role. So first of all, to unify or standardize the investment process. For example, the screening and investment of a green bond, the investor can use a CGT as an entry standard. When you build up your green bond portfolio, you can use a CGT, for example, if it is a CGT labeled, and then you can choose if there's a green bond. In this way, an investor can actually, when he looks at the different areas, all these green bonds, the investor can select the green bond to invest better. So we have been talking about a green bond. So is CGT applied to green bond only? Our group thinks that in terms of equity selection, CGT can also be used as a very effective tool, because it's based on science. So for example, the climate change. So some some economic activities that are very meaningful in influencing the climate change. For example, ESG investment products and the green equity investment portfolio. So when the investor or the fund manager selects, and they can use some the renewable energy player or their vehicles. So when you take CGT as a reference, 72 economic activities are related to climate change. So our scope of investment can be even wider and can be based on science better. So this is about investment strategy. In addition to this, in terms of benchmark and index, we can also follow this logic and apply TGT into benchmarking. In terms of information disclosure, we have seen that the information disclosure for a business, CGT can be used as a tool or a basis. If a business decides to disclose its information to the market or to the investors, it can disclose some TGT-aligned activities. For example, in a year, what is your total green capex, and among this, how many activities are related to TGT? So this is a very useful signal to the investors to help them identify which companies are CGT related, so that they can find what activities are effective in fighting against climate change. Investor disclosure is also another one, particularly these ESG-labeled funds. So what is the ESG objectives? CGT is also a very supportive tool. If we adopt the taxonomy in EU, for example, EU taxonomy, there has been a series of CGT regulations. For example, in your revenue, capex, and opex, what are the percentages are sustainable activities? So for us, it is also a very inspiring way. When we draw up our policies, we think that CGT is also a very important tool, particularly in regions, for example, Hong Kong in the Greater Bay Area. When we design a local taxonomy, CGT can provide a very good technical support. So in addition, when we look at the current policies, we can also integrate CGT into it. For example, Hong Kong MA, this is a green and sustainable financial grant scheme. So based on this, CGT can also be used as an entry requirement. So within period or when you issue a bond, you can use the CGT to get exempted of your recertification fees. So these are some of our primary thoughts. For the interest of time, so we have already put forward that when we apply CGT, what are our considerations? For example, data, the data availability, the standardization, the capabilities, as well as the disclosure capacity. So those are the considerations that we have to bear in mind when we apply CGT in the market. So we hope that through the working groups of green finance in the Greater Bay Area, I hope to provide capacity opportunities and technical support to relevant parties. In the future, so in terms of the promotion of CGT, we will also launch a series of activities. Please follow us. And finally, on behalf of the work group, I would like to say a big thank you to all the participants in this work group. Without our cooperation between each other, it would be impossible for us to put together such a report. So for the interest time, I wouldn't read out all the names, but you can find the names here in the list. So you're most welcome to download this report at our official website on the application of CGT. I would like to stop here. Thank you very much. Okay, so please allow me to invite Ms. Tracy Wong. She's the Vice President of the Association and also the Secretary. She's from Standard Chartered. She's going to talk about the cooperation opportunities and further carbon emission reduction in the Greater Bay Area. Some of her thoughts. Tracy, please.
You guys hear me? Great. Good morning, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to go through 2 reports findings with you. So it's very short space of time. So without delay. So the first one is the Green Building Project, which is under the Greater Bay Area Green Finance Alliance Working Group 5, led by HKGFA and in partnership of Hong Kong 2050 is now and the Civic Exchange. So our research already completed the first 2 phases of the report. Yes, so we already published 2 reports using Hong Kong as a pilot. And today, we are launching the 3rd phase of the report, which focuses in 4 cities in the Greater Bay Area, namely in Guangdong, Shenzhen, Zhuhai, and Foshan. So in these 4 cities, we look at, but before that, because I'm going to go quite fast in the report, that QR code is where you can download the executive summary research after today's forum. So it will be on the HKGFA website and also the Civic Exchange report. Now, very quickly, going through the policy and market. So from the policy driver, according to the 14th five-year plan, all buildings is target to be, all new urban building is target to be green by 2025. So this creates enormous drive in green buildings. Looking at the current market, the commercial real estate contribution to the overall sustainable finance market, you can see that GBA has a very large contributions, over 40%. And looking forward in the opportunities, we have estimated that in the 9 GBA city alone, in order for the city to achieve peak at 30 and carbon neutrality by 60, there is over $500 billion US dollar opportunity. The report also looked at a number of incentives available in the GBA city, which I'm not going to go into detail, but the report will highlight all these incentives. Last but not least, on recommendations. So the report highlights 3 areas. First is about green building certification. We encourage developers to adopt both local and international green building standards in the GBA city. And also, we encourage local policymakers to recognize international green building certifications in the regions, and also for the China Green Industry catalog to recognize the international green building standard. And also on improvement of subsidy, and last but not least, expand the variety of green and sustainable finance products onshore in China, and especially use of the linked product. So as I said, you can download this report on the GFA website and also the Civic Exchange website after this. Okay, so very quickly, switching to another report, the second report. So this report is a preview of the findings, which we will be publishing in early next year. So with this report, is on the Greater Bay Area deep decarbonization roadmap. How do you decarbonize in the GBA and the transition opportunity? And this report is in a collaboration with GBA-GFA, led by HKGFA, and in partnership with Civic Exchange and the WRI. Now, of the GBA city, we deep dive into 3 key emitting sectors. So within the industry, we look at the petrochemical and electronics under the industry area, and road transportation and the building sector. Now, looking at the overall GBA emissions, so at the moment, GBA is contributing to about 5% of the China total carbon emission, and it presents over $2 trillion US dollar opportunity in order to achieve the 30-60 goal. Now, the gray line show, based on the current policy, the emission peak will be at 2035, and it will be a significant gap by 2060. Looking at the blue line, the decarbonization pathway, it shows that to achieve carbon neutrality is possible by 2050, but it will require the emission peak by 2025. And also with much stricter energy efficiency improvement at an electricity source in decarbonization and use of CCUS and forest sink as well. Now, very quickly to go through the three industry. At the industry level, as I mentioned, on petrochemical and electronic, they are the largest contributor. It highlights that in order to decarbonize, over half of the industry are from electricity. So to change to the energy source mix to clean is the most important and significant for the industry sector. This is also very similar to the building sectors as well, which we already mentioned. Now, in the transportations area, so the report highlights that clean EV will contribute to over 50% of the decarbonization in the long term, and is the most effective way, and it presents $800 billion opportunity. The building, I'm not going to spend too much time to go through. Now, on the highlights of the early funding of the recommendation, we look at the challenges facing in transition financing and what are the opportunities. So the report highlights that for transition finance, the challenges including lack of unified transition finance standard, which Dr. Ma Jun is leading the effort in the G20 on driving the transition finance framework, and then also on adoptions of transition financing tool in the location. And beyond bonds alone, we also look at, the report also look at what are the other potential financing tools, including the use of carbon market, insurance guarantee, and green tech to accelerate the decarbonization process. Last but not least, as I mentioned, this is a preview of the report, and we will be publishing in Q1 next year. And there are a number of key events running up to the report launch. And tomorrow, there will be a workshop physically hosted in Guangzhou on sharing the finding and also getting feedback. So please do join. You can join online and physically in Guangzhou to contribute to this report. With that, I will pass it back to Chaoni for the more reports to come to share findings with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Tracy. 大家有没有感受到我？
Well, we are truly a multilingual organization. So next, we have by remote connection to Guangzhou. We'd like to invite Madam Meng Meng to share with us her findings on the GBA pilot of Greater Bay Area greening the supply chain. So Meng Meng is the Secretary General of Guangdong Green Finance Committee, also President of Guangzhou Emissions Exchange. Madam Meng Meng, please. Thank you. Thank you for your introduction, Chaoni. The Honorable Dr. Ma Jun, all of the leaders and guests from the Greater Bay Area, hello everyone. I'm delighted to be able to represent Guangzhou to participate in this annual event. So in the first, I remember the first forum we hosted, and I'm delighted to see us achieve so much under the leadership of Dr. Ma Jun. I feel very, very honored to be part of this. So today, on behalf of Guangdong Province, I'd like to summarize the work report of the Greater Bay Area Green Supply Chain Finance Work Group. Okay, so I think everyone has an in-depth understanding of Greater Bay Area already. So let me briefly tell you why we conduct a research on our green supply chains. So this topic was designated by Dr. Ma Jun to Guangdong. I remember this clearly. Guangdong has a very powerful manufacturing industry, so we must look into and research on how green finance could promote lower carbon development in Guangdong Province. So this is our mission. We have analyzed and combed through the Greater Bay Area's green industry finance. So firstly, Greater Bay Area has a very vibrant economy, and we have a lot of SMEs as well. In year 2021, we have 27,000 we have a lot of various organizations, large and small. So in this area, it is very meaningful for us to conduct research into green finance. And the Greater Bay Area's green finance development is developing rapidly, and we have a very well-established connecting platform so that it provides the right soil for green finance to take root. That's a broad overview. So over the past year, with our colleagues, including at Shenzhen and Guangdong and HKGFA and the Macau Association of Banks, the alliance members have done a lot of work, from theoretical research to actual implementation to actually we have achieved a lot. In accordance with our original purpose and vision, we would use our existing green finance tools and the relevant policy support. We must be able to apply all of these tools onto the actual green supply chains. I've talked a lot about the theory, but when it comes to actual practice and implementation, we face a lot of problems. Luckily, over the past 2+ years, under the leadership of Dr. Ma, we have been able to transition from theory to practice. So we're delighted to inform everyone that at the Guangdong provincial level, we have been able to promote policy drive as well. So last year in July, the Guangdong province have published a green finance support for carbon peak emissions implementation scheme. This is very innovative in China. It clearly states that it supports the development of green finance, and it will explore into service solutions which helps reach carbon peak emissions. So this is all thanks to hard work of our colleagues. This policy and this mechanism will continue to guide our work in the Greater Bay Area in the Guangdong province. And it has established a very good foundation for our future work. This is a very important part of our achievements. And we have also established certain standards and explored certain issues. In year 2021, on the 29th of November, we have set up certain projects in terms of green supply chains. And on the 1st of July in year 2022, we have also started to conduct research on green supply chain receipts and how financial industry could supply the manufacturing industry in low carbon transition. And also on the 12th of July, we have also drafted the green receipt standards. And starting from vehicle manufacturing to electronic manufacturing through home appliances manufacturing, we have done a lot of work. For example, earlier on, we have published the Greater Bay Area Green Supply Chain Finance Service Manual. And in terms of electronics, we have looked into a more in-depth collaboration. We asked these corporations to set up their carbon trading accounts, and we received recognition for the PBOC, and we are part of the PBOC Research Institute's projects. And in terms of home appliances, we work with Media Group to implement actual projects. We know that Media and other home appliances manufacturing industries, they did a lot of work in terms of the Belt and Road initiative to expand overseas, and we are trying to replicate the relevant activities all across the Belt and Road initiative. And in terms of energy industries, we have implemented the first batch of a green supply chain financial services certification process. In Guangdong, we have also done a lot of work in the city of Foshan under the support of Foshan People's Bank. We have be able to roll out one of the standards acknowledged by the CEC and to enjoy the monetary policy subsidies from green receipts. So we were able to expand our influence, and at the same time, under the leadership of the PBOC Guangzhou branch, we are also exploring into more of such green receipt certification businesses. So this is a more challenging affair. So right now, we are still in an exploration phase. It includes carbon assessment, assessing the target of trading targets, and to establish corporation carbon accounts. So people keep talking about carbon accounts, but what do we do with these accounts? That's the key development in the next step. So in August of year 2022, we have signed an agreement with an energy company in Guangdong to publish the first certified green receipts, and for the first time, the issued volume exceeds 60 million. We expect that corresponds to over 40,000 tons worth of carbon emissions, and we could be reduce financing cost of 2 million per year for that energy company. So. This is a very concrete step in terms of reducing carbon emissions and enhancing financing efficiencies. And secondly, our next work would be set up unified standards for green supply chain finance. We know that Dr. Ma set up the GBA-GFA, hoping that across the three regions, Hong Kong, Macau, and mainland China, we could set common standards, more recognized standards. Apart from what Chaoni have alluded to about the CGT, Common Ground and Taxonomy, we are also trying to work more in terms of green finance and to unify the financial standards. So this is work that must be done under the guidance of the relevant regulators, and to explore this issue with regional government in terms of environmental protection and climate action, to promote the progress of our overall project in various aspects and to actually implement them on the ground. We would select these choice suppliers, quality corporations in the Greater Bay Area as a pilot scheme to implement the specific measures that I've been alluded to in order to verify whether they work. And finally, I'll take 1 minute to talk about the CEX, the Guangzhou Carbon Exchange. So we know that we have this organization have really set up. We are one of the 8 emissions exchange centers out there, and China will no longer be setting up any more. We hope that we could work with the Greater Bay Area colleagues to establish the fundamental infrastructure of carbon trading in China and the basic infrastructure for international green finance as well. We have a very open mind. We would like to invite everyone to work with us. And that's all from me today. If I have more opportunities in the future, I hope that I could talk to you more about our work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. When corporations try to cut their emissions, one of the most difficult things that they are trying to one of those difficult challenges lies with the supply chain. So Meng has really contributed to this area, and we hope that, well, when you go back to your jobs, see if you could learn from what Madam Meng has done. So next, we'd like to invite Liu Yang. Liu Yang is the General Manager of China Emissions Exchange, Shenzhen. So he would talk about GBA Climate Fund Research Working Group and what have they done. Mr. Liu, please. The Honorable Dr. Ma Jun, leaders, guests, good morning. So I'm delighted to represent the Shenzhen GFA organization to report to everyone on our work on GBA Climate Fund research. So in this research, I'm very grateful to the Hong Kong GFA, Shenzhen GFA, and the bank and the Macau Bank associations for all the support on our work. It was a delight working with you all. So this report is mainly divided into 3 parts. So firstly, let me talk about the background and the meaning behind our research. So in year 2020, ever since the state has announced their carbon peak emissions target, climate finance is a very important part of our work, and it has a very important role to play in our transition to lower carbon economy. So right now, the financing means are quite monotonous. So Greater Bay Area, the Greater Bay Area Investment Fund is a representative fund in this area, and we would like to invest in key projects in support of climate action. So right now, the relevant industry and funds have received much policy support, both at a regional level and national level. So as the most economically open and strong economies in China, this is an important opportunity for the Greater Bay Area, creating a very good ecosystem for further implementation of our endeavors. well, Shenzhen as the first city to have a carbon emissions trading. We kept doing more in climate action investment and financing. So we are one of the first authorized projects in the green finance area by this municipal government, setting up a formal mechanism in this area. And we have implemented the Shenzhen investment reform implementation scheme. We have set up the nation Shenzhen climate investment project assessment and project guidance, etc. And furthermore, in Shenzhen, we have a unique double Q policy. We could allow same entity to have both qualifications to make it easier for different VC fund managers to manage the double Q funds. And furthermore, we would like to work with the across the board with the GBA-GFA and we set up the GBA Climate Fund Research Working Group to start conducting research in this area. So the meaning behind our research is primarily threefold. So from a macroscopic perspective, the GBA Climate Fund Research and Implementation serves to implement all the nationwide policies when it comes to combating climate change in order to establish a regional and industry-wide in climate action investment and financial coordination platform to serve the important goals and strategical aims of our nation. And if you look at the regional collaboration level, we are able to facilitate further integration and work in terms of climate action and climate funding in the GBA area to build a investment environment which moves across the border and to serve the nation and the world with this standardized system. And in Shenzhen, we will use our 2Q policy to continue to lead foreign capital to support the key industries in combating climate change in China, and to encourage domestic capital to participate in the Belt and Road Initiative climate-related projects overseas. So our development is developed into 4 phases. In the first phase, we comb through the literature to set up our fund and designate our vision, and to set up a dual directional venture capital fund, and to build a relative fund. And in the second phase, in market research, we will continue to conduct research in both domestically and overseas in terms of climate fund investment projects and the relevant standards, and to work alongside market research groups to summarize our experience. And we are now about to embark on phase 3 to design a solution, and phase 4 to implement and research into how the fund would actually be deployed. And this year in April, at the Shenzhen China's Emission Exchange, as the secretariat of our organization, we have started a preliminary research work in terms of setting up the climate change fund, the Greater Bay Area Climate Change Fund. And thanks to the support of Shenzhen GFA, Shenzhen and the Shenzhen Ecological Ministry has set up a climate-relevant seminar, and working alongside with the regulators for banks and other assorted administrations and all the experts and academics in the area of climate change. We work together to start to select a way of managing risk, selecting fund managers overseas, allowing foreign capital to enter China, and we have conducted an in-depth and fruitful discussion pertaining to all these issues. Right now, we have already we have summarized our experience in climate change and analyzed the relevant policies, and to summarize the climate action both domestic and overseas. And through online and offline investigation, we learned more about the key points we have to think about when it comes to issuing credits or bonds. And based on our current progress, we have preliminarily set up the Greater Bay Area Climate Fund Research, and we have hosted a work group meeting to work with the relevant members under that work group to talk about tax, foreign exchange, and other issues.
So currently, we have collected opinions from the members, and we will allocate the workload to different parties so as to carry out the rest of a part of our research. So this is our plan for our next period of work. So by June next year, we're going to finish phase 1 and phase 2. And in the second half next year, we're going to start working out the plan as well as the implementation measures of the plan. So through the work above, we hope to realize the 3 goals. Number 1, to finish a climate fund research report so that we can provide theoretical support to our future work. Number 2, we hope to design a protocol for the Greater Bay Area Climate Fund. And finally, we hope to implement the climate fund to promote our cooperation in the Greater Bay Area. So this is also for the purpose of the setting up and the development of the green finance pilot zone in the region, and we hope to share our opinions, share our experience with others. So with that, I would like to conclude my report. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish a great success to the meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Liu, for your report. And we will be expecting the pilot of this climate fund in the Greater Bay Area. And finally, we have Ms. Sun Xu to share with us her report. And Sun Xu is the Director for Strategic Research of Shenzhen Green Finance Association, and she's going to share with us some of her achievements in her work group. Thank you. Honorable Dr. Ma, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to share with you what we have achieved on behalf of my work group. The Shenzhen Green Finance Association and Guangdong GFA are our members, and meanwhile we have other members. For example, the Matrix Institution in Shenzhen, and our purpose is to set up the consensus as well as the mutual recognition of different standards in the region. So 3 key areas. First of all, it's about the standards of information disclosure and mutual recognition. In terms of by taking advantage of the current standards of information disclosure in Shenzhen, we will further tailor-make our own standards in this regard. And meanwhile, we will also work out our standards. Meanwhile, we're going to set up a third-party cooperation and exchange mechanism in the region. So in the process, the Shenzhen Green Finance Association took the lead and set up a guideline of information disclosure. So this is also a very important supplementing system in our current policies. It looked into the current national requirements in terms of information disclosure. Meanwhile, it also looked into different areas in terms of information disclosure. And therefore, we worked out very detailed requirements in information disclosure to all the relevant parties. We take the implementation and execution of such standards in different financial institutions in the region, and we also look into the emission, the carbon emission by different organizations in the region. So according to the new policies, the 17 financial institutions will be required to disclose the carbon emission information to the public. So this will be amended. And this is a requirement for this year. And over 20 institutions have already disclosed the information in their report. We will also summarize the good best practices in the region so that we can provide such recommendation to others. HKCEC is also working together with us for our research. we summarize some of the best practices while we implement this standard. Meanwhile, we also try to look at what are the challenges and the opportunities ahead of the financial institutions in the implementation. So after that, we will conduct a survey trying to understand what are the scenarios of application of this guideline, and we also look into the users and the draft of these standards and trying to understand the different concerns from different parties so as to come up with some suggestions to them. Currently, in the Greater Bay Area, we conducted surveys to different market participants in the region. Now, through this report, we can further review what are the challenges for all of us so that we can further improve our current mechanism. Through the information disclosure reporting mechanism, the financial institutions are also enabled to improve their own carbon emission reduction plans so that they can be more sustainable in their future growth. Meanwhile, when we prepare the report, we got feedback from the surveys that when we prepare the report, the participants from their board and the support from their board is a very important prerequisite for a good performance. So while the financial institutions, they began disclosing the emission information in the organization, we also compare their performance versus that of the market. We see there's still a gap. And finally, in terms of the optimization of the reporting requirements, the market participants also told us that we should pay more attention to different types of users because they have different needs of information, and so that in the future we can keep optimizing their such reporting requirements. So the Shenzhen Quality Assurance Research Institution is also working together with us, and we have conducted a lot of joint work. In July this year, the Quality Authority work out a certification mechanism that covers the Greater Bay Area, and this has been a very important policy support to us. In terms of the standard policies, we also looked into the 16 categories of our products. We set up different working groups together with the partners from Hong Kong. We started the drafting the technical document of the certification program. So you may have already heard that we have set up the third-party service providers. We will have an exchange platform, and I hope that this platform can also play its role in promoting the standards of carbon emission reduction in the region. And we also hope that this exchange mechanism can also promote collaborations between different parties. And then finally, we hope that by relying on this third-party platform from the technology support, we hope that we can carry out the mutual recognition of our standards in the Greater Bay Area as a better growth of the market. We have 16 member units, and they are from 4 places in the Great Bay Area. The 4 major parties in Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, and Great Bay cities in Greater Bay Area. So with the exchange mechanism in place, we will improve the working mechanism in the first half in the remaining month of the year, so that we can provide better services to support green finance in the region. Meanwhile, we will actually look into what are the good practices through our pilot programs in Shenzhen, and so that we can get the mutual recognition done earlier to promote the common standards in the region. In October, there will be a report to be published. In 2023, we will set up the factor collection and the factor model to promote the certification program. And in 2024 and 2025, we will finish 300 different types of products regarding its carbon footprint reports. And finally, by leveraging the support from the green finance associations in the region, we will work together with our counterparties in the establishing and mutual recognizing our standards in different markets. And we will also start exploring the opportunities of adopting new common standards that covers the whole region. And finally, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all the members in the work group, and we hope that we can attract more members to join us, so that we can contribute more to the green finance development in the region. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Sun. So next we're going to have a 15 minutes coffee break. And after a series of reports, we have a lot of sponsor booths outside, and perhaps you can take the time and have a look, because they have been very good ESG performers. And please come back to the venue at 10:30. We are going to have an exciting panel discussion.
See you at 11:30. Thank you.